pocket cheese.
I've had a few moments in my life that, looking back, could have ended very badly. When I was a kid, a police officer once stopped my mother while we were walking home at night. He asked if I wanted to ride in his patrol car. Being a kid, I thought it sounded awesome. I hopped right into the back seat. But as soon as the door clicked shut, he pulled my mother aside and spoke to her privately. I never heard what was said. I only remember the sudden, draining look of horror on her face afterward, and how quickly she ripped me out of that car. I never asked her what he told her. I was too afraid to know. Years later, there was another incident, and this one scared me a hell of a lot more. It was around 3 in the morning. I've always been a night owl, so I was wide awake when the heavy quiet of the night was broken by a sharp, metallic sound. The gate outside my house had just swung open. At first, I didn't think much of it. House settles, wind blows. But then I heard someone at my front door. They weren't casually testing it. They weren't carefully checking to see if they had the wrong house. The handle was rattling hard, violently enough that it sounded like they fully expected the door to give way. My heart instantly hammered against my ribs. Adrenaline flooded my system. Desperate to scare them off, I stepped up and punched the inside of the door as hard as I could, letting whoever was on the other side know that this house was not empty. The rattling stopped. A dead silence. Then, a few seconds later, I heard shuffling near the house, near the garage. Whoever it was hadn't panicked. They had simply, methodically moved on to the next entrance. At that point, survival instinct took over. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and ran to wake my parents. As I came back through the house, my eyes were drawn toward the back porch. There he was, standing right there in the dark. The only reason I could see him at all was because a cold spill of light from the kitchen cut through the window glass. He was just standing there, completely still, staring directly at me. I remember the details vividly. Dirty white pants, a blue shirt, and a blinking Bluetooth earpiece hooked over his ear. But the thing that deeply sickened me was how entirely calm he was. There was no frenzy, no fear of being caught. He looked straight into my eyes through the glass and said completely flat, "Let me in. I live here." I just shook my head, keeping the blade tight in my hand. Then my mother rushed into the room behind me. The moment she appeared, the man's eyes shifted. He slowly raised his hand, pointed toward the back of our house, and said that his room was the rightmost bedroom. Like he actually belonged there. Like we were the intruders who didn't belong. Leaving my parents, I quickly checked the rest of the house to make sure a second person hadn't already slipped in. Everything was clear. When I came back to the porch door, he hadn't moved an inch. He was still standing on the porch, staring, repeating the exact same phrase over and over in that terrifying monotone voice. "Let me in. I live here." I never raised my voice. I didn't argue with him. I just raised the hand holding the knife and pointed it directly toward the street. For a few agonizing seconds, he didn't react at all. He just stared through me. Then slowly, his eyes dropped to the glint of the blade. He stood there silently, thinking. 5 full seconds of absolute stillness. Then he took a slow step backwards, then another. Only after putting a safe distance between us did he finally turn his back, walking away into the yard. I followed his shadow through the dark house, moving from window to window and never taking my eyes off of him. Eventually, he crossed the street and was completely swallowed by the darkness. The next day, we called the police. That's when the real chills set in. We learned we weren't his first stop that night. To this day, I try to rationalize it. I tell myself he was just heavily intoxicated, out of his mind on drugs, or looking for an easy, unlocked door to slip into. But it's the Bluetooth earpiece that keeps me awake. Part of me constantly wonders, who is he talking to the entire time? Was someone waiting in a car down the street? Was somebody on the other end of that line listening to him try our doors? Listening to us? I don't know. What I do know is that if I hadn't been awake at 3 o'clock that morning, things would have ended very differently. Thanks for sitting in the dark with me tonight. If you enjoyed this Professor Broke reading, you can find more on YouTube and TikTok under the same name, Broke Breaks Books. If you'd like to share your story with the B3 community, shoot it over to brokebreaksbooks@gmail.com. Hit that like and subscribe button to become a B3 Cube. Oh, and remember, Sentinel Hypothesis says night owls evolved to stroke the fires, ward off predators, and remember who lives in their house.